Everybody's been making these videos, so I decided I would too. And I know before we get started, the reason why I'm making this video, this is going to be a little bit of an unscripted video. I don't have a script that I'm reading off of. I know usually I do these whole video essay style things, but I think it's a lot better to get my actual thoughts articulated if I'm just straight up talking. And the reason why I'm making this video specifically is because a lot of these videos people are seeing, you see the problems with Guilty Gear Strive, the issues with the game. And all of these videos are from longtime Guilty Gear players and all that stuff. But I think what sets me apart from that is I'm not a longtime Guilty Gear player. I picked up Xrd a couple years ago. I started playing Guilty Gear Xrd, and that's when I really got into the franchise. My whole life I've played Street Fighter. I've been a Street Fighter guy. And so that's why I wanted to make this video, just to offer kind of a bit of a different perspective. I'll start things off by saying, personally, I think the game is great. I really enjoy the game. The game is very fun, and again, this is coming from the perspective of someone who plays Street Fighter. I know one of the biggest complaints about the new Guilty Gear Strive game is they're slowing the pace down a little bit. And while I am a fan of the slower-paced games, like, of course, Street Fighter, I also just don't really think that's true. Sure, there's a lot of, and we'll get to some of the issues regarding pacing in the game in a little bit, but I personally think that the game in general really isn't all that slowed down. I mean, you see a lot of the crazy stuff like, the fast RC, the drift RC, and Roman Cancel in this game is so much more crazy and hyped up than any other Guilty Gear game, really. Like, Roman Cancel in this game is so insane. You can get so much, you just walk up to the opponent, do a drift RC up, and then the opponent has to guess like 50,000 different things. Every character's melee now. And I think that's great. Honestly, I think that's really, really fun. I know, it was Diaphone, who made like a demonstration a while back of everything you get off of just a simple mix as Ramlethal. And, that's really where the game has a lot of depth. And a lot of people are saying that, oh, this game, it's so one-dimensional, it's got no depth, And I really disagree with that in most circumstances. But as, I'm not just going to be sitting here telling you, oh, this game's awesome, buy it, this game's awesome, buy it. There are a few issues that I want to discuss. The first thing I want to talk about relates to character design. And I don't know, this is not really public knowledge, but I have done work in terms of character design for fighting games, whether it just be personal projects or other things. So I have a bit to say on the character design of Guilty Gear Strive. And I think the number one thing that everybody's been saying, and kind of just regurgitating the same info over again, I've seen it in tons of like posts or Twitter posts, all that stuff, is that only a few characters get to play the game. And I know that sounds weird at first, but honestly, I am a big supporter of this game. I think it's really fun. I absolutely 100% agree with that statement. Only a few characters really get to play what Guilty Gear Strive is. And the first thing I'm going to say is, obviously, remember, this was a beta. I feel like people are saying, oh, this is so unfinished. These characters aren't fully fleshed out yet. Yeah. That's why they hold the betas, right? But anyways, I totally agree with that. Like, characters, it's almost night and day. There are just like so many issues with character designs for some characters. Like characters like Soul or Ramlethal are the two big ones. They have so much more freedom just because they're not restricted as much by Guilty Gear Strive's mechanics. Obviously Soul has that really strong 6S, and he's got that really strong close slash, and he's got air combos actually, and he's got all this fun stuff that allows him to have the typical, like, Guilty Gear crazy amount of choices. And that works really well in Guilty Gear Strive. I'm sure some of you have seen the, like, Flying Soul DP combo. That is so cool. But other characters just don't have that level of detail. There's characters who just feel so restricted. Like, you're in a scenario and there is one option. And that just doesn't feel good. Characters like And obviously, I didn't play every character this beta. I did end up playing every single character in the first beta. So, but for this beta, I mostly focused on Faust, May, and Ramlethal. Or not Faust, Anji, May, and Ramlethal. But I'd say a big part of that, or some examples of that, would be character like Anji, actually. Anji, I had a lot of fun with in the beta, but there are just a few, like, holes in him that the developers, I guess, just kind of failed to realize. I think one of the things that makes Guilty Gear Strive feel a lot less fun for Guilty Gear players is the risk-reward balance. You know, you don't get as much off of a punch as you would in a traditional Guilty Gear game. And honestly, I completely support that. I think less risk, less reward is a fun mechanic. However, for a character like Anji, most of the time, you can't combo into 6P. Like, you need to be standing right up against the opponent to do 5P, 6P. A character like Zato, 5P, 6P doesn't even work. So what Zato gets out of his 5P is 5P, 5P, 2P, and then that's it. And then that just feels awful. And of course, Anji actually does have a little bit of something that people didn't really realize. He can do 5P into 6H, which doesn't combo, but of course that lets him get out of Fujin and, you know, have the Fujin on block, which is obviously super threatening. It's what Anji wants. But that's still, like, a bit of an issue. I feel like there should be at least something, you know, there needs to be at least something the character can do that's productive with those buttons, and that's one of my main issues with the game, personally. The next one is, like I was saying, there are just like a few holes in character design. I guess stuff they didn't realize. For example, once again, Anji is another great example of this. When I was playing around, I was doing a little bit of labbing, and I noticed that every single one of Anji's Fujin follow-ups, you know, Fujin, his main pressure tool, every single one loses to Leo's flash kick. No matter what he does, if Leo blocks Fujin, he can punish with flash kick. And that is that's gotta be an oversight, right? Because at that point, obviously not every person I fought, I made it to heaven, not every person I fought in the beta knew this. You know, Soul, I wouldn't always get DP'd out of Fujin, I wouldn't always get flash kicked out of Fujin, but the players who did, it would be impossible. It felt like a 10-0 matchup almost, just because, you know, there was nothing I could do. You know, the P follow-up where he leaps into the air, you get DP'd out of that. The K follow-up where he hops forward, you get DP'd out of that. The sweep, punishable on block, you get DP'd out of that. The overhead, you can DP in the middle of it, or it's punishable on block, you can DP after it. And it's just stuff like that that still exists in the game that is going to become a big issue for Guilty Gear Strive. Once people learn all the matchups and once people understand, you know, Anji was a pretty decent character this beta. He performed pretty well, to my knowledge. But once everybody knows, hey, it doesn't matter if the enemy picks Anji, just counterpick as Leo, and you'll probably win. Then that's gonna start becoming a huge issue. A little thing, I've been on this point for a while, a little thing that I've heard people say is that Guilty Gear Strive is a game with a 15-character roster that has 7 or 8 characters, and I also think that is an absolutely fair point. Like I said, some characters just don't have a lot of options. A character like Giovanna, she's got a fairly linear stuff to do. She doesn't really feel complete, right? And I doubt that until the release, I doubt they're going to be adding more moves to each character. I feel like their movesets are pretty relatively finished, but I do feel like certain characters need a few more things in order to be fleshed out. And I don't think that the pace of this game should be changed. I think that this game is just about as fast as it needs to be. I just think certain characters end up in situations a lot where there's just nothing to do. And that's something Guilty Gear has always done well, is, you know, making sure everybody has an option. But, like, for example, after somebody blocks Fujin, there's nothing Anji can do. He's just trapped. He takes damage if he's fighting a Leo who has charge, or if he's fighting a Soul who knows what he's doing or something. And, you know, you'd have to spin the meter there, but if you're gonna spin meter every single time, it's not gonna be worth it. But, yeah, so I think that's probably my #1 issue with the game. And, I guess the other main thing that I've heard people say is that damage is way too high in this game. You know, you don't get enough time to play the actual game. And with that, I would heavily disagree. Damage, I'm gonna call some people out here. Damage might seem really high, and the game might feel like, oh my god, games end, like, in 2 seconds. If you're on, like, the 6th or 7th floor. Because you'll just get blown up, because people don't know what they're doing, people will just snowball on you, you'll mash or press buttons. When you're actually playing in a, relatively strong environment, the rounds tend to last about as long as a traditional fighting game round, in my experience. I mean, a little bit, yes, maybe like, on average, 10 to 15 seconds shorter, but I've seen timeouts in this game. I've seen just about anything you'd expect. And, I think the damage is fine. I know a lot of people were regurgitating, oh, well, they asked for our critique, and then they said, we're keeping it the way it is, because this is the way we want the game. You know, why won't they listen to our critique? They did, you know, like, they said, this is, high damage is a part of Guilty Gear's design, or Guilty Gear Strive's design philosophy, so we're keeping it that way. And then people got so mad about them, because they wanted to make their game the way they wanted to make it. Like, you know, if the game, you gotta understand, if the game developers made every single little change everybody wanted, the game would be a mess. It would be a disgusting mess. The game would have crazy high damage combos, but it would have, it would just be sloppy. Because you can't do every little tiny thing that everybody wants. And I think that them keeping the high damage is a perfectly fine thing for them to do. So yeah, we've covered the combos, we've covered the character design. I think that a lot of people, or we haven't covered the combos. Another thing a lot of people talk about is that you know, the difference in the combo system. And I personally love the juggle combos. I think they're really fun. But, that's sort of just a personal preference thing. That's nothing, like, really to talk about. Juggle combos are fun, in my opinion. If they're not fun to you, then, sucks. But, I think that might pretty much be it, unless I can think of anything else, like, negative to say. I guess I'll go ahead and give some of my positives real quick. Once again, I think the netcode, obviously everybody's been saying this is something that is great with the game. The netcode is phenomenal. The actual game, the, like, system mechanics of the game feel phenomenal. The Roman cancel is so sick, like, the amount of stuff you can do out of it. I talked briefly about all the mix you can get from the up RC. You can do, like, forward drift RC, fast cancel into command grabs. It just makes grapplers a constant threat, you know. Think Potemkin Hammerfall, but at the last second, you know, the Hammerfall just in the split of a second, in just like a split second, it transforms into Potbuster, and that's gonna end up becoming like a major part of Guilty Gear Strive. And I think that having the meter be so powerful and so useful in this game works perfectly. Like, you know, this meter is such a huge, important part of the game. It really enables all the crazy stuff that happens in this game. And, you know, you have the wall breaks that make you build more meter, you build meter fast, so it ends up balancing out the pace of the game, and it feels just like any other, you know, it feels right. You have enough meter to do what you want, whatever you want, really. And, I think they balanced that, like, phenomenally. But, as I said, I still think certain characters need to be tweaked. They need more options, really. And I still also think that, we didn't talk about this yet, anti-airs, Anti-airs still feel a little bit off to me in this game. I think maybe if they tweaked the, like, juggle states after certain anti-airs, it would be a little bit more impactful, because one of the more fun thing about Guilty Gear is that, you know, you'd anti-air and then you get a big old combo. But for some characters in this game, you anti-air and you get nothing. Like, Anji's 6P as an anti-air. In the corner, you can get a crazy combo. This is actually not that great of an example, because Anji actually does get a combo after his 6P, so they did well there. But some characters, you know, some characters don't get anything. And that doesn't feel very good. It just, doesn't really work, in my opinion, for the game. But obviously they're trying to slow stuff down, having anti-airs be a little bit less rewarding. Maybe that's the direction they want to take. That's fine. But, yeah. Overall, I think that Guilty Gear Strive is going in a good direction. It's going great. I think that it's very fun. The past 2 betas have been great. And I am excited to get my hands on the game. I am likely going to be playing the game in a competitive manner, in some way or another. And I am very excited to see how the meta develops and all of that stuff. I also think that it still needs a little bit of work. And of course, we still have a few months, so I don't think that we're going to have to delay the game. I am not saying that we need a delay to fix these problems. These problems are minor. It's just a few things with each character that need to be tweaked, and then the game will be great. The game is great. It's just right now, as people have been saying, it's a 15-character game with 7 or 8 characters. And I think that is the #1 issue with Guilty Gear Strive. But, as I was saying, I want to end this on a positive note. I think that the game is amazing. I think it is absolutely worth the money. I think that it is absolutely worth the pre-order, and I think it is worth sinking time into. So I'm not gonna be like one of those people who just regurgitates the same thing over and over again. I'm telling you my straight opinions. I think the game is fun. I think the game is competitively deep, with the exception of a few characters. And I think that it is just about ready for release. And so, I'm very excited for this game. Let me know how you guys feel about the game down below. And have a very respectful debate about it. You know, I don't want to see... It's gonna happen. It's going to happen, but I don't want to see the people in the comments who are like, you know, this game sucks because Reddit told me that it's like this. And, yeah. I don't, you know, you almost gotta expect that. Everybody's gonna be saying stuff like that. But I think the game's worth it. It just needs a few more tweaks. And that is my final thought on the game. The summary is, the game is great. It needs some minor adjustments to each of its characters. To 4 to 6 of its characters. And then it will be good. So, this has just been my honest thoughts, you know, no script, it's been a little bit messy. My honest thoughts on the game. And that will be it. I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.